we all talk about motivation like it's this magical fuel that keeps us going no matter what. You've probably heard it a million times. Just stay motivated, and you'll achieve your goals. But here's the thing, motivation is a tricky friend. It can show up when you least expect it, and it can vanish just as fast. And the reason so many of us struggle with motivation isn't because we lack desire or ambition. It's because motivation alone can't carry us. Without the right mindset, motivation is like trying to drive a car with no engine. You might push it a little, maybe get it moving for a few meters, but eventually it just stops. I remember a time when I was working on a personal project, something I was genuinely excited about. I had all the motivation in the world. I stayed up late. I planned my days around it. I told everyone about it. And then nothing. After a few weeks, I realized I wasn't making real progress. I had motivation, yes, but I didn't have the mindset to sustain it. Motivation feels good, it feels inspiring, but without a solid foundation in your mind, it's like building a house on sand. It's unstable. So what is this right mindset I'm talking about? It's not just thinking positively or telling yourself you can do it. It's deeper than that. It's about understanding how your mind works, how habits are formed, and how your beliefs shape your actions. Think about it this way: your mind is like the soil in which your goals are planted. Motivation is the water. Sure, it helps, but if your soil is poor, the plant won't grow. You need fertile ground first, and that fertile ground, that's mindset. One of the biggest mistakes people make is relying on motivation alone. They wait for that surge of energy, that perfect feeling, to show up before they start working. But the truth is, motivation is unreliable. Some days it's high, some days it's low. And if you only act when you feel motivated, you're going to have a lot of days where nothing happens. That's why mindset matters. Mindset is consistent. It's not a wave that crashes and disappears. It's the engine that keeps you moving even when motivation is low. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, wanted to run her first marathon. She started training full of excitement. For the first 2 weeks, she was unstoppable. She woke up at 5 a.m., ran, tracked her progress, posted about it. She had motivation in spades. But by week 4, something shifted. She got tired, work got busy, life happened, and suddenly, the motivation that had carried her before wasn't enough. She almost quit. But then she started thinking differently. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, she focused on building a mindset of discipline. She reminded herself why she started. She created small habits she could stick to, and she learned to embrace discomfort as part of the journey. And guess what? She finished that marathon. Not because she had more motivation, but because she had the mindset that allowed her to act even when motivation failed. See, motivation is like a spark. It can ignite something, but it can't keep the fire burning on its own. Mindset is the fuel that keeps it going. And mindset isn't built overnight. It takes reflection, practice, and sometimes a bit of failure. In fact, failure is one of the best teachers for mindset. Every time you fail and you get back up, you're training your mind to be resilient. And resilient thinking, that's what makes motivation sustainable. Now, another important piece of this puzzle is self-belief. Without believing that your actions can actually make a difference, motivation won't last. You could feel incredibly inspired to write a book, start a business, or learn a language. But if deep down you think, it's too hard, or I'll never succeed, motivation will evaporate the moment things get tough. Mindset is what helps you bridge that gap between desire and action. It's the quiet voice that whispers, keep going, when motivation is screaming, I'm tired. And here's the thing about mindset, it's not fixed. You can shape it, mold it, and improve it over time. Some people think you're either motivated or not motivated, but really, it's about building a mindset that allows you to work consistently, even when motivation is fleeting. That means embracing habits, focusing on progress rather than perfection, and learning to enjoy the process instead of just chasing results. I want you to think about something for a moment. Imagine you have two people. Both want to learn English fluently. The first person waits for motivation. They study only when they feel like it, and some days they don't study at all. The second person builds a mindset. They understand that some days will be hard, some days they won't feel inspired, but they commit to showing up anyway. Over a year, who do you think will get farther? The answer is obvious, and it's not because the second person is more motivated. It's because they developed a mindset that carries them forward, rain or shine. And developing the right mindset doesn't mean you'll never feel unmotivated. You will. Everyone does. The difference is how you respond. Do you let that feeling stop you, or do you keep moving anyway? That's why mindset is more powerful than motivation. It creates a framework that supports your actions regardless of how you feel in the moment. Another thing I notice is that people often confuse positivity with mindset. They think, if I just think positively, I'll always feel motivated. But mindset is not just thinking good thoughts. It's thinking strategically about how you act, how you respond to obstacles, and how you maintain progress even when emotions are inconsistent. Positivity can help, but it's mindset that sustains you. Let's talk about one practical example. If you want to wake up early every morning to study or exercise, motivation might help you get out of bed for a few days. But to make it a habit, you need a mindset that accepts discomfort and values consistency. You need a mindset that says, even if I'm tired, even if I don't feel like it, I'll do this because it's part of my bigger goal. Motivation alone won't do that. Mindset will. And here's the exciting part. You can start building this mindset today. It starts with small choices, like setting clear intentions, tracking your progress, and being honest with yourself about why you're doing something. It grows when you celebrate small wins and learn from setbacks. And over time, you'll find that motivation doesn't need to be constant because your mindset keeps you moving forward naturally. So, every time you feel like motivation has betrayed you, remember it's not a sign that you're weak or lazy. It's a sign that you need to strengthen your mindset. Motivation will always come and go, but mindset is what anchors you, what allows you to turn intention into action, and what transforms fleeting bursts of inspiration into long-term achievement. Think of it like this: if motivation is the wind, mindset is the sail. You can't control the wind, it comes and goes, but with the right sail, you can navigate even the stormiest seas. And the best part, the more you practice, the better you get at adjusting your sail, no matter how the wind blows. It's a journey, and it's not always easy. You'll face days when giving up seems simpler, when staying consistent feels impossible. But every time you choose to act despite the lack of motivation, you're reinforcing your mindset. You're telling your brain, I'm capable, I'm disciplined, and I can push through challenges. And that is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Now, let's talk about why mindset doesn't just help you stay motivated, it actually amplifies motivation itself. You see, when your mindset is strong, motivation doesn't disappear as quickly. It lasts longer because your mind is trained to respond to challenges differently. Think about climbing a hill. If you only climb when you feel motivated, you'll stop at the first steep part. But if you have the mindset of someone who embraces effort, who sees the hill as a challenge rather than a roadblock, suddenly you're not just moving, you're moving with purpose. Motivation isn't carrying you, mindset is guiding you. I remember reading a story about Thomas Edison. You probably know him as the guy who invented the light bulb. But here's the thing, he didn't succeed on his first try, or his 100th, or his 1000th. He failed thousands of times. But every failure didn't weaken him, it strengthened his mindset. He didn't rely on motivation to invent the light bulb. He relied on a mindset that told him, every failed attempt is just data. Keep going. That mindset kept him working day after day, year after year, until he reached success. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Motivation alone wouldn't have gotten him there. And you know what's fascinating? Mindset also helps you handle the emotional ups and downs that motivation can't protect you from. Think about your own life. How many times have you felt super motivated, only to hit a roadblock and feel like giving up? Maybe it was a project at work, or learning something new, or sticking to a healthy habit. Motivation gives you the energy to start, but mindset gives you the resilience to continue. It's the difference between someone who tries and quits versus someone who fails, learns, and keeps moving forward. Here's a personal example. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to learn a difficult skill, public speaking. At first, I was excited. I read books, watched videos, practiced in front of a mirror. But the first time I spoke in front of a real audience, I froze. My motivation tanked. I felt embarrassed and considered quitting. But then I shifted my approach. I told myself, it's okay to struggle. Every great speaker started somewhere. I'm learning. That mental shift, developing a growth-oriented mindset, made all the difference. Instead of waiting for motivation to return, I kept practicing. Slowly, steadily, I improved. And that mindset of persistence turned what could have been a single moment of failure into a journey of consistent growth. Another reason motivation fails is because we often confuse it with discipline. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is an action. And mindset bridges the gap between feeling and action. When you have the right mindset, you don't rely on how you feel to act. You rely on systems, habits, and strategies. Let me give you an example. If your goal is to read more books, motivation might get you to pick up a book for a few minutes each day. But mindset will have you schedule reading time, create a quiet space, track your progress, and reward yourself for consistency. That's how small actions turn into big results, even on days when motivation is low. And here's a concept I want you to really think about: the mindset of patience. Most people want instant results. They start something new with high energy and motivation, but when they don't see immediate progress, they quit. But progress isn't linear. Real growth takes time. A strong mindset accepts this reality. It understands that setbacks are part of the process, not the end of the journey. It teaches you to trust the process and keep showing up, even when you can't see the final outcome yet. Let's take learning English as an example, since I know many of you are on that journey. You can feel super motivated today, ready to study for hours. But tomorrow you're tired, maybe frustrated with grammar rules, or confused by pronunciation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. But if you develop a mindset that says, I will practice consistently, even when I don't feel like it, because small steps compound over time, suddenly every study session counts. You're no longer dependent on bursts of motivation. You're building something lasting. And mindset doesn't just help with personal goals, it transforms how you face challenges in life, too. Imagine someone facing a big setback, like losing a job or failing an exam. If they rely only on motivation, they might feel hopeless and defeated. But if they have a mindset built on resilience, learning, and adaptation, they see the situation differently. They think, this is temporary. What can I learn? How can I adjust? Mindset turns obstacles into opportunities. Motivation can't do that. It fades when things get tough. Mindset thrives. Here's a little exercise I want you to try as we talk about this. Think of a goal you've been struggling with. Now, instead of asking, how can I get motivated? Ask yourself, what mindset do I need to reach this goal? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's discipline. Maybe it's resilience. Write it down. Visualize yourself taking consistent action from this mindset, even on hard days. That small shift in thinking is the beginning of a mindset transformation that will make motivation much more reliable. And finally, remember, this mindset is not about being perfect. You don't have to always be disciplined, always positive, or always motivated. It's about creating a framework that allows you to act consistently, learn from failures, and keep moving forward. Motivation is like a spark. Mindset is like the path that guides that spark to light a fire. When you combine both, you have unstoppable momentum. Now, let's dive into something really powerful: how your mindset shapes the way you see challenges. Many people think a challenge is a roadblock, something that stops them. But with the right mindset, a challenge becomes an opportunity. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I was trying to improve my speaking skills in English. At first, I struggled to even hold a basic conversation. Every mistake felt like failure. I almost gave up many times, but then I shifted my mindset. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, I started seeing them as feedback, like a roadmap showing me where I could improve. Every error became a guide, not a punishment. And guess what? That simple mental shift kept me practicing consistently. Motivation alone wouldn't have done it. Motivation might have made me excited for a few days, but mindset carried me forward for months. Here's another thing I've noticed. People often underestimate how much their mindset affects their energy. Motivation can feel draining. You push yourself when you feel excited, but when energy drops, motivation fades. Mindset, however, works differently. It doesn't depend on your mood. It's built on principles and habits. For example, waking up early to study or exercise might feel impossible some days. Motivation will fail on those days. But if your mindset is strong, if you've trained yourself to value consistency over feelings, you still get up and act. You still make progress. That's the secret mindset. Doesn't burn out like motivation does. Let's try a little thought experiment. Imagine two people learning a skill, maybe learning to cook, play an instrument, or even learning English. Person A is extremely motivated but has no structured approach. They study intensely one day, then skip the next because they don't feel inspired. Person B has a growth mindset. They understand that learning is about small, consistent steps. Some days they feel motivated, some days they don't, but they show up anyway. After a year, who do you think progresses faster? It's person B every single time. That's why mindset beats motivation every single time. Now, I want to share a practical tip for strengthening mindset that I use myself. Every night before going to bed, reflect on one small win you achieved that day. It doesn't have to be big, it could be as simple as finishing a chapter of a book or speaking to someone in English. Celebrate that win, but also think about one area where you can improve tomorrow. This small exercise trains your mind to focus on progress instead of perfection. And over time, it builds a mindset that naturally keeps you moving forward, even when motivation is low. And here's a subtle but crucial point: mindset affects how you deal with negative thoughts. Everyone has moments of self-doubt. Motivation can't always overcome self-doubt because it's temporary, but mindset can. A strong mindset teaches you to recognize negative thoughts without letting them control your actions. For example, if you think, "I'll never be good at this," a mindset-focused approach says, "That's just a thought. My actions define my progress." That mental shift is the difference between giving up and pushing forward. Another story I love comes from a famous athlete. Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, didn't win every match because she felt motivated. She won because she had a mindset that focused on preparation, resilience, and learning from every game. She trained even when she didn't feel like it. She analyzed losses, adjusted strategies, and never let a bad day stop her. Motivation might have helped her feel excited before a match, but it was mindset that made her legendary. And the same principle applies to anything you're trying to achieve in life. Now let's talk about habits. Mindset and habits are deeply connected. Motivation can start a habit, but it rarely sustains it. Mindset builds the system that keeps the habit alive. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't rely on motivation to do it every day, it's automatic. That's because you've built a habit. The same principle applies to goals and dreams. When you create small, consistent habits and attach them to a mindset of growth and resilience, progress becomes inevitable. Motivation becomes a bonus, not the driver. Here's a simple exercise to build that mindset through habits. Pick one goal: learning English, exercising, or writing. Break it into tiny, repeatable actions. For example, instead of "I'll study English for an hour," start with "I'll learn one new word and use it in a sentence." Do this every day. It's small, but consistent action trains your mind to value progress over perfection. And once your mindset is aligned with these habits, motivation will naturally follow. It won't disappear as quickly because your mind is conditioned to keep going. And let's not forget the power of visualization. A strong mindset uses imagination to prepare for challenges. Picture yourself overcoming obstacles, completing your goals, and handling setbacks with calm and focus. Motivation might inspire the initial excitement, but visualization strengthens your mental framework so you can act even when motivation fades. This is something many successful people do daily. They rehearse the journey in their minds before taking action in reality. Finally, one of the most important mindset shifts is embracing failure as part of the process. Many people quit because they see failure as proof that they can't succeed. But a strong mindset sees failure as information, an essential guide for growth. Think of every setback as a teacher. Motivation can't help you learn from failure because it's temporary. Mindset allows you to see the lesson, adjust, and keep moving. And that's how consistent progress happens. So, every time you feel motivation slipping away, remember, the right mindset isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about creating a mental structure that allows you to act, learn, and grow, no matter how you feel. Motivation is the spark, mindset is the engine, and habits are the wheels. Combine them, and you're unstoppable. Now, I want to dive into something really practical: how to actually train your mindset daily so it becomes stronger than motivation itself. Because here's the thing, mindset isn't something you just have. You have to build it like a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows when you challenge it consistently. One method I love is what I call the micro-win strategy. Every day, aim to achieve one very small success that moves you toward your bigger goal. It could be reading one page of a book, writing one paragraph, or practicing a single phrase in English. Why does this work? Because your brain starts associating effort with reward. It doesn't rely on motivation to feel exciting. Instead, it learns that consistent action equals progress. Over time, these micro-wins accumulate, and your mindset shifts from, "I hope I can do this," to, "I will do this." Let me share a story. I once coached someone named Ahmed. He wanted to become fluent in English, but kept feeling stuck. Motivation would spark him for a week, then vanish, so we focused on mindset instead. Every day, he committed to just one small action: listening to 5 minutes of an English podcast or writing one sentence in a journal. It seemed insignificant at first, but after a month, those tiny steps built confidence. He didn't rely on motivation anymore. His mindset carried him. By 6 months, he was speaking confidently in English, something he thought was impossible at the start. That's the power of mindset over motivation. Another incredible tool for mindset is mental reframing. This is where you take a challenge or negative thought and actively change how you see it. For example, instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this, I'll never succeed," you say, "I'm learning. Every mistake is helping me grow." Motivation might push you through a tough day, but mental reframing reshapes how you respond every single day. It turns obstacles into stepping stones rather than dead ends. And here's the subtle but game-changing point: mindset also controls your energy management. Motivation often feels like a roller coaster. You're hyped one day and exhausted the next. Mindset, however, teaches you to manage energy consistently. It's not about always feeling pumped, it's about creating routines. Knowing when to rest and understanding that action doesn't need to feel perfect to be effective. The right mindset keeps you moving even when motivation is low or emotions are fluctuating. Let's do a little visualization exercise together. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your goal. Picture the end result as vividly as possible. See yourself speaking fluently in English, finishing that project, or achieving that personal milestone. Now imagine the challenges along the way, the mistakes, the frustrations, the slow progress. Visualize yourself facing them calmly, taking small steps, learning, adjusting, and moving forward. That's mindset in action. Motivation might excite you at first, but this vision, reinforced with mindset, carries you through the difficult days. Here's another story that always inspires me. Michael Jordan. One of the greatest basketball players ever was cut from his high school team. That could have crushed his motivation, but instead, he developed a mindset of relentless growth. He didn't quit. He used that setback as fuel, practiced harder, and eventually became legendary. Motivation might spark someone to try once, but mindset ensures they persist when the world pushes back. And let's not forget the importance of reflection. Taking time to reflect on your day, your actions, and your mindset is crucial. Ask yourself, what went well today? What challenges did I face? How did I respond? What can I do differently tomorrow? This habit strengthens your mindset because it turns experience into learning. Motivation can inspire action, but reflection and insight turn action into progress. Now, I want to give you a practical challenge to reinforce what we've talked about today. For the next 7 days, pick one small, repeatable action that moves you toward your goal. Keep it tiny, something you can do even on low motivation days. Reflect each evening, write down what you did, how you felt, and one thing you learned. Reframe one negative thought daily. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I'm learning, and this is part of the journey." This simple routine trains your mind to rely on mindset rather than fleeting motivation. After a week, you'll start to notice a shift. You feel more consistent, more resilient, and even small bursts of motivation become easier to maintain because your mindset carries the weight. And here's a final truth I want you to remember: motivation is like a spark, but mindset is the wind that keeps the flame alive. You can't control when motivation comes, but you can control how strong your mindset is, how you respond to challenges, and how consistent you are in building habits. And that, my friends, is the difference between people who dream and people who achieve. Over time, when you strengthen your mindset, you won't just rely on motivation to start. You'll have the mental structure to keep going, learn from setbacks, and grow consistently. Motivation becomes the icing on the cake, not the foundation. And that is how real progress happens. That is how you turn intention into action and dreams into reality. So, as we wrap this up, let's tie everything together. We've talked a lot today about why motivation often fails, and the simple truth is this: motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like waves in the ocean. Sometimes the waves are big, sometimes they barely reach the shore. But mindset, that is what gives you control over how you navigate the sea. Mindset doesn't vanish. It's the steady hand on the wheel that keeps you moving forward, even when the waves of motivation crash away. Think about all the stories we've shared today, from Sarah running her marathon, to Ahmed learning English through tiny steps, to legends like Thomas Edison and Michael Jordan. What's the common thread? It's never raw motivation. It's the mindset that allows them to act, adapt, and persist despite challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Motivation might spark action for a day, a week, or even a month. But mindset builds the life-changing momentum that carries you for years. And the best part, you can start building that mindset today. It starts with small steps, micro wins, reflection, reframing challenges, and embracing consistent habits. It grows when you remind yourself that setbacks aren't failures, they're lessons. It strengthens every time you choose action over comfort, persistence over temporary excitement. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your mindset carries you so well that motivation is no longer a requirement, it's a bonus. I want you to leave this episode with one thought. You are capable of more than you realize. And the key isn't finding motivation, it's training your mind. Every goal you've ever dreamed of, every skill you want to master, every challenge you face can be achieved with the right mindset. Motivation will come and go, but your mindset, your mental strength, resilience, and perspective can last a lifetime. So, the next time you feel motivation fading, don't panic. Instead, ask yourself, what mindset can I bring to this moment? What small action can I take right now that moves me forward? Do that, and you'll realize something incredible. Progress isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about showing up every single day with the mindset that refuses to quit. Remember, your mind is the most powerful tool you have. Fuel it with the right mindset, nurture it with habits, and let motivation be the spark that lights the fire. Because when mindset meets action, that's when extraordinary things happen. That's when dreams stop being dreams and start becoming reality. And that's why, my friends, motivation alone isn't enough. Motivation without mindset is like a car with no engine. It might roll a few meters, but it won't take you where you truly want to go. Build your mindset. Strengthen it. Protect it. And let it carry you forward, no matter how high the waves, how long the journey, or how challenging the road. Your goals are waiting. The path is yours to walk. And with the right mindset, there's nothing you cannot achieve.